Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 8 plus 1 The Classroom. This is a very special episode. Uh, this episode is, is an episode that's meant to explain a lot of things. Today, I have the legends of legends in my midst. Personally, I don't think as a content creator, as somebody whose intention is to teach, I don't think I have done enough in this space to deserve this presence that I have today. But thanks to my beautiful friend Lynette Scott, I have Baba Maurice Copeland with me today. This person is a legend among legends. Mr. Copeland is a poet, an activist, a teacher. This person is not just anybody you meet anywhere. But I can't tell you enough about him. I will let his teaching and the information he's going to give us today, I will let that do the teaching. Mr. Copeland, welcome to 8 plus 1 The Classroom. And Miss Lynette is you'll see Miss Lynette a lot in this podcast as time goes on. Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you welcoming me here, and let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Thank you, Miss Lynette. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is an exciting, like you said, an emotional opportunity, but it's a beautiful thing. I appreciate it.
Mr. Copeland, let's can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'll I thought about that before coming here, and I will say a little bit about myself because a lot of people in Kansas City know me, and I don't want to take this time to talk about me and what I've done. I would, we will talk about some things that I want to do, but I was born and raised here in Kansas City. I was born in 1947. I was born on 16th and Woodland. That's the Jazz District. Born and raised there. Back in the heyday in 1947. I've seen a lot, know a lot. I've seen things, the history books of Kansas City. I've known a lot of those people. I've seen those people. I saw them walking up and down the street just like regular people. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be today. We had a community that felt like a community, a village. That's what it was. And Kansas City, one of the slogans that we used to have here in Kansas City, turn this thing off, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Was Kansas City one of the most livable cities left? That used to be a slogan. One of the most livable cities left. And I swear on that. It was. It was. Kansas. If you couldn't make it in Kansas City, you can't make it nowhere. Nowhere. The word ghetto, I remember when the word ghetto back in the 60s and the 70s, people used to talk about ghetto. When I left here in the 60s, I went to the Army and spent my time in the Army, Vietnam, come back, all this stuff. I told the people here in Kansas City, you don't know what a ghetto is. You never seen a ghetto. Kansas City is, go to Baltimore, go to New York, go to Philadelphia, go anywhere in the United States. Kansas City is the most livable city left. You can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. So I as far as saying anything about myself, about my accomplishments, people, I don't want to do that because people, if I pump up my job status or my activist status, it really hasn't been felt. And so I don't want to feel like I've accomplished anything in my activism or in my occupation and career. And I have, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk with you. I want to talk with the people. So this is impromptu. It's going to be spontaneous. It's going to be angry. It's going to be a lot that's going to come out. Let's talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you. I am here for all of that, and I know my sister is here for all of that as well. As a young man who's born and raised in a country in Africa called the Gambia. The Gambia and the United States have a lot of history. Gambia is a very tiny African country, one of the smallest midland countries in Africa. The reason for its size is because the British were only interested on the River Gambia, because it was right on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. They can come and bring their ships and park their ships right on the coast of the Gambia and get in Midland. So all they did is they just followed the banks of the River Gambia on both sides. And as a British colony, we have had to learn English. We have had to be a part of the Commonwealth. We've had to do things the British way. And traveling into the United States and seeing life and culture and people of the United States and what happens in the United States, how it happens. Sometimes you want to sit with people who have been here longest, the people with the wisdom, the people who have been here yesterday, day before yesterday, and who are here today. Their wisdom helps connect everything together. It teaches me, it teaches her, it teaches the next person, it teaches the next person after that. It's a community. We are all a part of this community. So it's a pleasure to have you here, because I want some of those things, you to talk about some of those things. What was life like in the 70s? What was life like in the 80s? What was life like today? What's the bridge? What happened?
Yeah. You know, life is a beautiful thing, and it just happens that way. There's going to be a commonness that comes with us, a commonness,
Commonness, yes.
Gambia.
Mhm.
It's on the Atlantic.
Yeah.
On the Atlantic. My people, I have followed my roots, my roots. And my mother's people, my people that came from Africa and were slaves in South Carolina. When we did the research, we went back to the 1620 here in the United States when they came here. Gambia and Guinea.
Guinea.
Huh?
Guinea.
Guinea
Yeah.
on the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where my people came from. Gambia or Guinea. I don't know which one. I could find out. It's easy, but that's just as far as I wanted to go with it. So there's a commonness, and I will show you that because I have pictures of my family, and I think you may see the commonness
Yes.
in my people.
Yes.
So this is going to be a beautiful relationship, my son,
Yes.
my brother,
Yes.
because like you said, it's a community.
Yeah.
And also, some of my people went back to Africa in the 1800s when Monroe set up Liberia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what they had been here 200 years. Yeah, 200 years. So they didn't go back, let's say, to Gambia or...
Yeah. They went to Liberia.
They went to Liberia
and
because
Sierra
that's what it
Leone.
was all about. And
Yeah.
the ones that went to Liberia, they wouldn't let them go anywhere but Liberia because that's what they was doing. But yeah, we had people to go back there. So you're gonna stir me up again and make me go just a little bit further than 1620. Like I said, I can find out exactly where they came from because the family that they were slaves with were in government. They were in government. They were magistrates in the government of the United States. That's how I got so much good history with my people. So this is going to be very interesting, brother.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't mention Liberia because my wife's family, they're from Sierra Leone. Part of Sierra Leoneans are part of returned brothers and sisters who were here, who were returned to Africa. That's why when you look at their last names, they don't have the typical African last name. They have Jones, Johnson, Davis. They have pretty much Gray. They have pretty much the last names of the people here.
Yeah.
That's my wife's family. They speak a type of English called Pidgin English, which is pretty much what was spoken during the days of slavery. It's now a little more polished. They speak something similar to Jamaican patois, but their own version of it, which is pretty much the same thing.
What? Excuse me. What you call it? Pidgin what?
Pidgin English.
Pidgin English.
It's English that is, it's not the clean English. Excuse me for even referring it to that, because I don't think I have any right to refer it to that. But lack of a better term, I will call it. It's English that is not. If you speak English and you hear them speak, you'll understand most of the stuff they're saying. How are you? They say how you day. This is English, pure English. That's just brought back here from the days of our ancestors who were here and taken back to Africa. So most of the stuff is very similar. But my experience in America has been, I've seen a lot of black people in America come to me and say, why doesn't Africans like black people? Why? I don't know. I don't even have the answer to that. I don't know why is that, but in my own point of view, I think it's a agenda that is pushed to create a divide. You go to Africa today, it's a lot of white folks buying property in Africa. It's a lot of Chinese investing in huge property, not just property. They will own, one person or two, a family will own pretty much half of Kansas City is owned by a family. They're buying all the property back home. But it seems like amongst ourselves, we are more focused on why don't Africans feel like African Americans don't like them. African Americans feel like Africans don't like them. Why? Where does the disconnect?
I've heard that. We've heard that. And like you said, it's an agenda. Of course, and the agenda was put out by the system, so that we'd never get close, or don't want to get close. Just like the movies and stuff, the way the movies are made and all this stuff. Y'all don't want to relate to this Tarzan. You don't want to relate to this Jungle Gym. You don't want to relate. They put that out and they make people, it looks bad so you kind of shy away from it. But we're more educated than that. I don't believe it. And I don't, you can find an idiot that'll say anything that the system wants them to say. You can do that. And they stick a mic in front of one idiot. He says it, and it spreads to the other idiots. And then the other people don't pay any attention to it, let it go. So that's the way it seems. Well, the majority of the people, I don't think they fall for it. I don't think they fell for it. I never did. And we actually, when you hear it, consider the source. Consider the source when you hear something like that. If that person is saying, well, the Africans and the blacks, we don't relate, we don't get along. No, you don't relate. Mm-hmm. Look and see who they are, and you'll see what kind of agenda they're bringing forward or where they're coming from. See, that's one reason, like I said, maybe to talk about my background. Well, yeah, we don't want to go there right now because I don't go for that. I've been places. I traveled to the United States when I was coming up. My mother made sure that I knew my people. Oh, that's beautiful. My mother made sure that my people, the ones in South Carolina, that my grandfather's people, that we know We know where they came from. We knew they were slaves. We knew that Gambia or Ghana, Guinea, that's where they come from, the coast. Mm-hmm. I seen them. I can relate to all of that. I can relate to being with them in Arkansas and in our family. The relationship of the people that went to Liberia, yes, you're right. They didn't go back with those names. Mm-hmm. Talbert, Coleman, they came back with the names from Carolina to Liberia, and the names are still carried on. Mm-hmm. You know, so those relationships are still there. Well, I can't say those relations. I would love. I think, you know, like they say, immigrants. Mm-hmm. The immigrants here, mm-hmm. and the people, they say that they can't come, or they're immigrants. They can't come to mm-hmm. the United States, so you got to have this papers and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. No, baby. Those people were born here in the United States. Yes. The people that went to Liberia were born. They're United States citizens. Yes, they are. You don't tell me that if the feasters here in Kansas City, in Arkansas, in South Carolina, if we want to hook up with our people that you set back, those are our ancestors. Mm-hmm. They're not immigrants. They were born here. Mm-hmm. You sent them back. So if they want to come back to their families, or we want to go back, you know, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? That's why I don't denounce white folks when they talk about immigration sometimes, because we're going to get you. We're going to get you, because you're going to do it, because that's the way y'all are. You're going to get your way. And when we do have all the rights we should have, and we're on an equal basis, okay, now it's time for us to bring them Liberians back over here. Right. You can't tell them they can't come across here. This is where they come from. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. We have to be a little bit tougher. But our people, as far as the relationship of us not getting along with each other or not relating to each other, I can't. I know too many people. I've been around too much, and I don't know how that got spread around so bad that blacks, African Americans, and the Africans got this divide. I never fell for that. I don't believe it. And whenever I was in people's company that talk like that, well, you got a problem with me. Yeah. You got a problem with me. You ain't been nowhere. You're talking like a little Negro idiot. That's what you're talking like. You haven't been anywhere. You don't remember the songs that used to be sung. You don't know nothing about the cotton fields. You know, the older people, like I was telling you, we lost a lot in the 70s. In the 70s. One reason that we did not teach our children, show our children a lot of things, the hardships that we come from, and all that, we didn't want them to know that. Mm-hmm. We didn't want them to see how our people suffered. So we didn't tell them. We're coming up here, we're integrating, we're making strides, we're doing things. If we had let our children know what they went through, it would have been a civil war, because the younger Negroes, mm-hmm. that we raised,
Mhm.
oh no, they wouldn't have took it. They wouldn't have took it. When they was going to these schools out here in these suburbs, we have a big problem. If we had taught them what the civil rights what the movement up to the civil rights movement of going through Reconstruction, going through coming out of slavery, if we had taught them what we saw, I've seen ex-slaves. I'm talking about people that were slaves. They held me in their arms. They rocked me. My aunt Mary, my Uncle Tom, my Aunt Sylvia. Oh, I remember them. I remember seeing them with my eyes. I walked with them. If we had taught them what we saw, and we taught them coming up, and they're getting ready to enter Raytown, Grandview, these schools, you'd have had a problem. We'd have had a problem here. So that's how we lost a lot here these last 50 years. That's why people say they didn't teach us that in school. They didn't teach. We don't know. Yeah. Maurice Copeland would not have been able to contain himself. My children would not have been able to contain themselves because they would have felt the same pain that we felt from our grandfather and our great-grandfather. Mm-hmm. And they didn't need it because it was too close to them then. It was too close to them then because it was just too close. And we had to contain ourselves, tame yourself down. Mm-hmm. But we've got a lot. We're getting ready to get a good education though. Now, we're getting ready to get a good education because things are coming around. The critical race theory, mm-hmm. The conversations coming up, mm-hmm. the beautiful movie with Emmett Till that they just had.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
Yes.
That was beautiful. I remember that. I'm that old. I remember that. I was getting here in Kansas City. My mother told us when we were kids, don't you ever be afraid to go anywhere you want to go. Mm. And I used to go to Arkansas, down there in the cotton fields. We had a store. So I didn't have to go to the cotton field. But down there, where the Negroes had to go to the cotton field and all that stuff, and I played with them kids and all that stuff. When Emmett Till got killed, I caught a bus. Missouri. That was the line in Missouri. You leave Kansas City, you get to Neosho, Missouri, which is I don't know how far it was, 75 miles.
Yeah, it's not far. Yeah.
Whatever. Well, okay. Stopped at the bus station, which was a drugstore, and it had a wooden cigar Indian. Mm-hmm. When you see that Indian, get in the back of the bus. Ooh. And that's what I did. Get in the back of the bus. You get to Webb City. I don't hold it. You hold it, or you step off that bus, go out there by that shed, and use the bathroom or whatever, That's when it started. This is your dignity and all this. You had to hold it together. Hold it together. Oh, if we had taught these kids, if we had taught these kids what we went through, and really related to them. Oh, their fathers. We grew up with these kids, teachers. That teacher there, when I was a kid, you know, they had the same teacher. If we had taught them, do you realize what could have happened around here in Kansas City? Our children would have been very angry. These cities would have been different. So a lot that I don't know if I'm getting off anywhere, but the relationship and what we lost over between that time and now, we felt it necessary not to teach them certain things. Yeah, you understand, Lynette?
It now makes perfect sense because I was born in 75. And so there were certain things that my great grandmother was born in 1904 and her mother was born in the late 1800s, and she was freed from slavery when she was 14. And it makes perfect sense because certain things I did not hear directly as a teaching, but when you're at I call my great grandmother, we all call her Mama. When you're at Mama's house and J.D. Johnson because I grew up at 2525 Woodland. So everybody on Vine, J.D. Johnson, a lot of the people who went to Paseo Baptist or our home church was Bethel AME and Ward Chapel. And so you hear them talking, but as a child, you stay in a child's place in another room.
That's right.
And so you hear some of the things, and like I tell people, my knowledge of Troost, that Troost was one of the more savage slave masters, and they named an entire divide on our city. And the Troost up near 18th and all of that was all black people, and they went up in there and savagely ran them out of that and took it over. And this is things I heard, but I was not sat down and taught. But like you said, because of what I heard, because I overheard my mother and her siblings who were talking about the Westport riots. We're sitting in Westport Middle School. My mother went to Westport High School right across the street, and she was part of the teenagers that were beaten by the cops when they went for, they were just protesting for civil rights movement. And they all walked out and the cops pulled up and just started beating them. And to hear that kind of stuff, this is what I tell people when you said, do you know how angry they are? Because I tell people I'm kind of like I don't want to say I'm pro-black, but I don't hate nobody. But to hear that kind of stuff, after I heard them talk about the Westport situation where my Uncle Richard Gray was a star track athlete with the state police, chased him down the street, trying to beat him and kill him. And his coach made him hop in the car to get away. And all the other kids right here on 39th Street, the police were beating high school students. These were not adults. These were kids who walked out for their rights, and the police pulled up and started beating them with the butts of guns, beating them with batons. And I heard that, I know I was in the 5th grade, and I know my teacher's name was Miss Rowley. And I went back to school the next day, and my teacher was a white lady named Miss Rowley. And I noticed her condescending behavior towards us. And it is written in, my mom's upset because it's written in my school records, because she was being very condescending and she favored the very fair-skinned, light-skinned kids. And she said something to me and I got upset and I called her a H word, not the garden tool, but the Richard Pryor favorite word, honky. And she said, "What did you say?" And I said, "You're evil. You don't like black people." And I said it again. And she sent me to the office. And the funny thing about it, my principal's name was Mr. Herman Gant. I went to Wendell Phillips. And my principal's name was Mr. Herman Gant. And we were always in trouble. Mr. Gant looked at me. He said, "Gray, Why did you say that? And I said, because she don't like black people, this and the other. And Mr. Gant looked at me and said, Gray, I understand that. But if you're going to get anywhere in life, you cannot let your anger get to you about the way they treat you. That's right. And I see why now, because I was a fifth grader and I'm like, why, everybody, why I get in trouble and they know how she is. And I see why. I used to get upset and I'm like, why didn't people teach our young people everything that happened? But like you said, me as a fifth grader, and it sparked this movement in me to where I didn't take no mess. I don't take no mess off of nobody who don't look like us. Mm. And I'm loving, but I'm not going to take no mess off of you. And like you said, it would have, could you imagine a city full of me's? Right. It would have.
And that's one reason, like I said, when you talk to people and you get certain feelings from them, and a lot of younger people will say, well, they didn't teach us this and they didn't teach. Well, we have to use our sense. We want you to live.
That makes sense. Yeah.
We know the time of day that we're in. Mm-hmm. And we know that you think, younger people, because we're raising you in a semi-integrated society. Mm-hmm. And if we teach you that guy that's teaching in your school, he taught me. Now he's almost dead now. Mm-hmm. He's old. But let me tell you how they treated how he treated us. You think they're gonna go to school and sit back? No, not these little people we raised. Because you can see that they kind of off base now. There's a lot of things going on that a lot of people that are learning our history, that they don't know how to express themselves properly, a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And they've done and did foolish things. That's why they're in a position that they are. Well, if we had taught them the real deal, well, we would have been able to touch the haters. There it is. We would have been able to show them before they died out. This is who hit us with these sticks. This is where it happened. You can't go there, and you couldn't go there. Well, now they can go there, and they would go there, and they would boost up, and well, I mean, come on now, we ain't there yet. Yeah. That's what we would have to take them through. No, man, you can't do that. You got to be cool. You got to, be suave, Use your cunning. Use your sense. We're educated. You're getting educated now. I want you to go to school. I want you to go to college. I want you, if you're getting mad because I just taught you what happened out here in Grandview. Or I just taught you what happened in Raytown. Oh, my kids had a hell of a bringing up. When I hated this desegregation, mm-hmm. Hated it. I hated the way we fell for it. We mm-hmm. fell for that. We fell for it, and so you can't teach. People have heard this. You can't teach a child in a segregated environment. You can't get an education in a segregated environment. In other words, separate but equal.
Right.
You can't do that. That's what they were saying. Mm-hmm. I said, wait a minute. All of my teachers are black. All of my teachers were black. You're telling me that you cannot get a good education in a segregated. You taught me. Who taught you? You're smart, aren't you? You taught me. Now you're saying we can't. So, okay, Now, if you tell me that you cannot teach my kid, you just taught me, black teacher, you just taught me. And now you're telling me you can't teach my kid. Well, I'm going to move out there to Raytown.
Right.
I'm moving to Raytown. And so my kids were raised in Raytown. Anybody, I don't know where this thing going to be seen, but anybody knows that Raytown was the head of the Klan.
Mm-hmm. Hang 'em high.
This is it.
Yep.
And my kids live straight up the street from the Klan headquarters when I moved there in the 70s. In the 70s. And we used to go down to the Safeway store. And I told my wife, we're going to have to do something about this. This is the Klan headquarters. My kids are going to wear a Hershey bar. And they're going to walk down here. And that's what they did. And that's what I told them. You see that? I taught them. This is what it is. Just walk. And I let them handle it the way they handled it. And they had no trouble. Because, one thing, I guess, like I said, you know, they weren't going to take any stuff
Right.
from them little white kids.
Right.
And pretty soon, they're gone. They're gone. Yeah, they're gone. And they be on the baseball teams, football teams. They grew up like that. Yeah, they grew up like that. And so, you know, things got better. Hate to say that. Things got tolerable. Tolerable.
That's a good word, yeah.
Yeah, got tolerable. But yeah, and I hate to take so long on that, but yeah.
But
we couldn't tell. We couldn't tell everything.
I appreciate the answer you gave. It's very in depth. It makes a lot of sense. But how did that help the healing for y'all? Because I'm protecting my child from this information because fear of how my child is going to react. But at the same time, has that allowed me to heal from this trauma? That way I'm not passing this trauma down to my children.
Yeah. We took it on ourselves. I mean, we had a revolution going on, baby. Look here, don't think that these are the wrong. We were the wrong people too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were coming in times of change. During the civil rights movement, after the civil rights movement, when Martin Luther King got killed. Now we're getting ready to progress. Oh yeah, wasn't nothing they could do. So we don't have to bring this home. We're on these jobs, and we took it on them jobs. Oh yeah, oh yeah. They don't need. I mean, as far as what's going on the job, they get the benefit of it. That's where we fought the revolution. That's where we, the civil rights, the job, getting better jobs. Yeah, we fought and we got them. Oh, we moved up. That's another thing that I don't know what people hear. I hear people say we ain't made no progress. You didn't? Really? You mean to tell me that Maurice Copeland and all the people that worked at Ford, General Motors, and all these places back in the 60s and the 70s that got to be pipe fitters, got to be skilled labor. Some of them got union positions. We ain't did nothing. We ain't progress. Those consider the source. Who said that? what did you do?
Hmm.
What did you do? Tell me. If you find a 70-year-old, 74-year-old man that will say, yeah, these people, they the same as they always were. You are too. You are too. What did you do? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Stop it. The lies they say. Black people and Africans don't like each other. No, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's you. You don't like, or it sounds good to you.